Hello everyone and welcome back to the Tees Valley Sport Podcast. This week I'm joined by Martin Jenkins. Martin is the Assistant Director of Tees Valley Sport and he's worked there 15 years. This week actually signals the end of Martin's career at Tees Valley Sport and his working career. He's actually retiring back end of this week. So I thought it was a great idea to get him on and have a chat with him about his time at Tees Valley Sport, about his time working, and just about a little bit about his plans of what he's going to do in retirement. So it's a cracking episode, and we have a good chat about some of his stories, about some of his memories, and it's really interesting to hear about what he's got planned for retirement. So I hope you enjoy the episode. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do subscribe to our Spotify channels. We have got some really good episodes lined up. We're hoping to do a bit of a series in May looking at mental health, around the Mental Health Awareness Week. So we have got some really good guests coming up. So please do enjoy this week's episode, but also please do subscribe to the channel, just so we can keep this channel growing really. So enjoy the episode and thanks for listening. Morning, Martin. How are you doing?
Morning, Mark. Yeah, I'm well, thanks. Looking forward to a chat.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks a lot for jumping. Obviously, it's a pretty important couple of weeks here, isn't it? You've got a bit of a milestone coming up.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are aware now, but yeah, I'm planning. Well, I'm not planning to retire anymore. I am retiring. I keep saying that at the end of next week. So yeah, 30th of April will be my last day with Tees Valley Sport. So yeah, quite looking forward to it now. But it's sad in many respects as well. To be leaving such a great organisation.
Yeah. So just before we look into kind of your time at Tees Valley Sport, what's your own personal background in sport? So have you been a keen sportsman? Do you still do much sport? Do you do much physical activity? Just let people know what you do yourself.
Yeah, I come from really quite a sporty family. As a lot of people will be aware, they won't be able to tell from my accent that I'm Welsh and very proud Welshman, and bored people senseless over many years with my love of cricket, rugby, football. My strong allegiances to the likes of Wales, Cardiff City and Glamorgan. So I'm originally from South Wales, and my granddad set up our village cricket club, Wicken District, who played in the Morgannwg League back home in Wales. So I got involved with cricket in particular from a very young age, but both my granddad and my dad were really quite sporty, rugby, football. My granddad in particular loved his football, and he also played hockey, so very sporty background, and played a lot of sport when I was younger, really, in particular. Then, like a lot of people, I suppose, you look to start work, and I started work after my studies. And I started working in the environment, really, in countryside management, and ended up, I got married sort of quite young, and the difficulty associated with playing a sport like cricket, and I was working a lot on a weekend. The sort of playing side dropped off in my 20s. Then I had a couple of boys myself who were mad keen on sport. Then I got involved again, really, as they began to shoot up from about 5, 6. They started playing rugby at Stockton Rugby Club, and I also got involved then on the sort of coaching side in the sort of minis setup at Stockton. Then got involved in playing cricket at Norton as well again, and got quite heavily involved on the coaching side at Norton, the juniors. And that was great. So that's my bit of a story, just sort of mad keen on sport, really.
What about now? Do you still find the time to do anything now? I know you're a very keen walker, aren't you? You love your walk.
I love my walking, and myself and my wife Alison are mad keen on walking. We love cycling, so we both got bikes, out and about cycling quite a lot. Generally, if we go on holiday, it's a cycling type holiday. So we've been over to France. Travelled around Ireland, Scotland, back home in Wales with our bikes. So yeah, cycling's very much my sort of go-to physical activity, sort of form of exercise really now. But yeah, walking as well, very, very, very keen on walking.
So you'd be hoping that we'll end up having a nice few summers then with the retirement on the line, so you can get out and get plenty of nice walks and loads of cycling, I'm guessing.
That would be great. And the weather over the last sort of few weeks has been fantastic as well. So funny, I was just saying to my wife Alison earlier in the week that I must have a good overhaul of our bike so that we can start to get out and about, especially with obviously me retiring in the next week, 10 days.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, you've been at Tees Valley Sport for what, 15 years, isn't it? You were saying to me previously. So how did you get started at Tees Valley Sport, and what's your previous work been before you moved here then?
Yeah, my first paid job, if you like, was in countryside management. I was a park warden at what was then called the Castle Eden Walkway, just north of Stockton. And I worked with a fantastic team really at Cleveland County Council, and we developed that site. And then they asked me whether I would be keen to oversee the development of a lot of the country parks in the county of Cleveland as then. So places like Flats Lane Country Park in Middlesbrough, Gisborough Branch Walkway, Billingham Beck Country Park, Coop and Bewley Woodland Park. So got involved in a lot of big projects really, developing country parks in Cleveland. And my remit was very much quite similar to my role now, really, was encouraging people to come out, enjoy the countryside. We did a lot of programmed activities around walking. We had orienteering trails set up. We had fun runs taking places at country parks. So yeah, that was sort of back in the early 1980s, really, so a heck of a long time ago. So that was my background. So very outdoors, very keen to encourage people to lead more active, sort of healthy lifestyles by exploring the great outdoors. And we have some fantastic facilities really right on the doorsteps of people right across the Tees Valley. And then slightly further afield, you're into the North Yorkshire Moors National Park, or heading north, you've got the fantastic Northumberland coast, the Durham Dales. So we're so fortunate to have spectacular countryside really right on the doorsteps of huge numbers of people in the Tees, living in the Tees Valley.
So then obviously you came to Tees Valley, so what was kind of the driver behind coming here? Was it just something that you fancied a bit of a change, or?
Yeah, it was very much that really. I got involved in some quite big projects when I was working for Stockton Council. In 1996, I transferred through to Stockton Council and was responsible for the management of urban green spaces in addition to countryside sites, and completed a huge project at Rottner Park. And I thought, well, now isn't the time probably to look to do something different. And as I said earlier, I'd always had a massive interest in sport. And I saw the opportunity to move into a new position at Tees Valley Sport back in 2006. So I applied for that role and was successful in getting it. So I started work with Tees Valley Sport back in 2006. And it was great, really, right from the outset. I was able to work with different partners, develop networking opportunities across the 5 local authorities in the Tees Valley. I really enjoyed that side of things, building those partnerships. Yeah. And, great supporting national governing bodies at the time and sports clubs. That was a big remit for us back in 2006. So yeah, it was a really exciting move for me right from the very outset. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, right from day one, really.
Yeah, and obviously, having that passion, having that interest in sport, the outdoors, it seems like you've literally lived almost like the perfect platform in terms of a job for somebody that wants to be outside, like sport and physical activity, going from the parks, countryside, going to the sport environment. You literally, you couldn't have had it better, really, could you?
I couldn't, and I often reflect on that, where, both the jobs that I've had, have been a vocation for me, really. I've absolutely loved it. Very committed to the environment, love my sport, and to have worked, the thick end of 39 years by the time I go, in those 2 fields has been absolutely perfect for me. Couldn't have planned it better.
Yeah, no, I think it's the fact that we've got that passion, that interest in sport, to be able to help people, do more sport, encourage them to be more physically active. I just think we're such a fortunate position, aren't we, really? There's certainly, it's great.
Definitely so. Yeah, I mean, I can remember even going back to my early days working in the environment, which I tried to develop a bit of a sporting link to it. And some of the work that we're doing then, even sort of back in the mid 1980s. So we were trying to do some work targeting people living in more disadvantaged communities, encouraging them to come out into the countryside. I remember doing a lot of work with the BAME community in Middlesbrough, and organising activities for them to go out to the Castle Eden Walkway near Stockton. And I remember organising sort of cricket matches with the youngsters it was predominantly from the Pakistani community and the Bangladeshi community from Middlesbrough came out, and we sort of played cricket in a field next to the country park. And the mums and dads then were taking on walks. So we were doing a lot of quite innovative work, really, in terms of trying to target people who weren't your typical countryside users, even back in the 1980s.
It's interesting, that, isn't it? Because now you see more of that kind of the drop into sessions are happening more and more often now. I mean, obviously this past year it hasn't been as much of that going on, but you know, you're seeing that kind of drop into the sessions, and families go and do a walk, leave the kids to do some activity. So the fact you were doing that, you know, those years ago, it's incredible to see that it's kind of those programs are still happening, isn't it? It's great.
It is, but it's also disappointing in some respects, isn't it? In that we probably haven't still, you know, starting the work back then, even that we still haven't made the inroads into those sort of hard to motivate individuals, have we? I mean, things are constantly improving.
Yeah.
I had a conversation this morning as an example with a new BAME project that's been set up in Stockton. Came about through COVID and trying to get involved in encouraging people from the BAME community in central Stockton to access food parcels, and they're now keen, this organisation, to look at how they can encourage them to be more physically active, particularly targeting women from that community in central Stockton, encouraging them to get out. Strangely enough, one of the sites that we talked about them using was Rotner Park in the centre of Stockton. So yeah, sort of emphasised, you know, the opportunity maybe to get some of the women involved in walking, running groups, orienteering trails around the park. So yeah, it's come sort of full circle in some respects, which a lot of things tend to do, don't they, around sport and the environment. There's only so many things that you can do, and you do tend to go around in cycles and circles, don't you?
Absolutely. Just while you've mentioned COVID, I think it would be a bit of a strange one to not kind of mention the past year. Obviously, you know, you said you've worked for, was it 39 years? Said you've been in the work for, and obviously this past year must have been one that you could never have expected to experience. You know, a year of working from home, a year of working away from the office, working away from colleagues. How have you found that? And what have you seen, the changes, the challenges? What have you seen this year?
Yeah, it's not been straightforward, and you know me. I was itching to get back into the office, really.
We were only going to be at home for 2 days, man. We were going to be straight back in the office.
I know, famously, when we were told that we had to work from home, I said, "Oh, this is a nonsense. We'll be back at work within 2 to 3 weeks."
I'll never forget that.
At best. And yeah,
you were so confident of it as well. You were adamant.
I know. Yeah, it's wishful thinking, clearly. So yeah, it's been difficult, I think. But I think we've all adapted, haven't we? Everybody's adapted so well to it. But yeah, it's been so difficult watching a lot of organisations really struggle. You know, young people in particular not being able to access any of their sports clubs has been hard to accept, really. But you know, clearly everybody's had to do that, and it's been so great recently seeing rugby clubs, cricket clubs, boxing clubs, you know, those types of group clubs beginning to get going again, which has been fantastic to read about on social media and on the sort of local news stories.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been one of those where, you know, working in the sport physical activity world this past year, we've seen some really kind of challenging experiences. We've seen some really, you know, some there's been some big challenges, there's been some big obstacles we've had to overcome, and I think that you know, the work which you've done in particular through you know, the TIF funding, through the various funding pots that you've helped clubs secure thousands of pounds of funding over this past year. I think it's just been invaluable, you know, the work which yourself, Paul, when Jean was here, obviously the work Jean was doing for the TIF project in particular. I think a lot of clubs in the Tees Valley, that they couldn't have survived without it, could they?
Yeah, it's been a tremendous boost to clubs, and a lot of clubs have begun to think differently on how they engage with the local community. So TIF has been very positive in that respect, and we've seen some fantastic examples of clubs doing crowdfunding campaigns and generating really significant sums of funding, really. And also clubs, again, I had an email this morning from a boxing club in Billingham who through the Tackling Inequalities Fund wanted to do something different. So they'd linked up with Parkinson's UK, and they're looking to put on some training sessions for people suffering from Parkinson's. So again, you know, a lot of the really creative clubs and community groups are trying to look at doing things in a slightly different way due to the COVID problems. And hopefully that will be something that they'll continue to do really long after COVID is gone. Hopefully it is going to go.
I know, yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah, definitely it wasn't going to be the 2 days though, the 2 or 3 days.
No, that was overly optimistic, I think it's fair to say.
Absolutely. So going back on the last 15 years, Martin, tell us a couple of your favourite stories and memories that from your time of being at Tees Valley.
Probably have too many to mention, really. I mean, some of the bigger events that we've organised, school games, and some of our networking events have really been great, really, where we get lots of different partners coming together. We've had, you know, occasionally we've had problems like horrendous rain. I seem to remember at a school games event a few years ago where we had lots of volunteers coordinating events out in the field, and it was a torrential downpour. All their records were washed away on sheets of paper and what have you. So a lot of those bigger events have been really fun, to be honest. And I've particularly enjoyed working with the sort of broad range of partners that we have through our partnership. And you know, that'll be a memory that sort of sticks with me. And we've had some great fun, really working with those sort of partners over the years, whether it be, you know, a traditional sports club, or, you know, a community group that previously hadn't delivered any sport or physical activity that suddenly thought, oh, well, this might be something that would really appeal to our members. And they've started very much at a sort of grassroots level. And then really taken quite an interest in sport and physical activity and really committed now to doing more and more sport and physical activity.
No, fantastic. I was going to say, I bet you've made a lot of people, I bet you had a lot of friends who you'll probably keep in contact with after you retire. I'm sure you'll have met hundreds of thousands of people over your years of working at Tees Valley Sport, and you know, I'm sure a lot of those people will be wanting to keep in contact with you after you've retired. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure they will, and you know, I've already had a number of people sort of emailing me or sending me messages, and I'm as you know, I live up in Newcastle now, but I'm sure if people are wandering up this way, yeah, we'll arrange to have a pint somewhere, and I'm still keeping connected with a community organisation in Middlesbrough who are based on the Thorntree estate. So I'm going to remain a trustee with that particular organisation. So I will be venturing down to Tees Valley on a regular basis. So I'll be keeping in contact with, I'm sure, a lot of partners still, even as a retired individual.
Absolutely. So 15 years is a long time to work for an organisation. You know, I'm sure there's been significant changes that have happened. Can you know, what have been some of those big changes you've seen at working with Tees Valley Sport, working within sport and across the Tees Valley?
Yeah, I suppose there have been quite significant changes, really, not just in personnel within the team, but when I look back, you know, key focus for us sort of back in around about 2006, there was quite an emphasis on working with national governing bodies. You know, they were really key players in terms of our work connected with the partnership back in 2006 to around about 2010, 11. And there's been a shift away from that, obviously, I would say, in recent years, working with a broader range of partners around inactivity is a much stronger focus for us as a partnership now. So that's been quite a significant shift, I think, from more traditional sport to physical activity and encouraging inactive people to be more active. And that requires a different sort of skill set, you know, working with groups who might not have a history of doing much around sport and physical activity. That brokering role that we're involved in, you know, linking partners up with people who can help, developing the workforce more. Those are really sort of key areas, but there's definitely been quite a significant change, particularly I would say over the last 3 to 5 years, and that's likely to continue further, I think, especially with the launch of the Sport England strategy earlier in the year. There's definitely going to be a different focus for us. That's not saying that I'm sure we'll continue to support clubs, because I mean, some of the clubs who are really innovative are doing some amazing work in encouraging inactive people of all ages to start to play sport or to become more physically active. And we see some outstanding stuff. You and I had a meeting with a bowls club in Darlington a few weeks ago, didn't we? And what a club they were in terms of the things that they were trying to do within their local community. So there's lots of great stuff happening. And it's an exciting time, I think, for you and the rest of the team at Tees Valley Sport. You know, the years ahead, I think, are going to be great, especially when we come out of this horrible COVID situation.
That meeting with the Bowls Club, man, I still, you know, the increase in their memberships and stuff over this past year with what's happened with COVID and the fact that they've still been able to maintain their old membership and get new members in. They were incredible, weren't they? They've just thought so innovatively. They've been so proactive. You know, I just hope that more clubs do think that COVID has been a challenge, but I think what you're right, it's that it's been a time for people to think outside the box, hasn't it? You know, that must be one of the major changes you've seen, that it's not just about what happens on the pitch now. It's sport as a bigger picture. Isn't just about, you know, for cricket, it's not about just those 11 players that go and play on the pitch on a Saturday. It's, you know, it's a Monday to Sunday. It's, you know, what else can you do in a week? What can you do to get new members? What can you do to help your community? It's not just about the sport now, is it?
Yeah, it's much bigger than that, and I think a lot of clubs realise that they're really important rocks within communities. You know, they're the foundation of a lot of communities, really. Going back to my time, you know, I come from a small village in Wales, and you know, it literally is a tiny village, but you know, we've got a thriving cricket team, and we've also got a rugby team. You know, both of those clubs are a fundamental part of that community, really, and the same applies right across urban areas of the Tees Valley as well. So yeah, those clubs and these new community groups have got really important roles to play in encouraging people to be more active. And I think the one thing that's come out of COVID is a lot of people are realizing that they need to be healthier and more active as well. They need to improve fitness levels. And you don't need to start, you know, running marathons or anything. You know, you can start low key, start exploring the parks, green spaces around where you live. Have a go at different activities and sports. You know, a lot of these clubs are super welcoming now as well. If you've got youngsters who are interested in sport, you know, get them down to your local netball club, get them down to your local cricket club. You know, there's loads and loads of opportunities.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm going to put you in the spot and ask you, what are you going to miss about working at Tees Valley Sport? What are you going to miss about us?
I'll miss obviously the team. We've got a great team at Tees Valley Sport. You know, Mal's come in obviously now as the new exec director and has hit the ground very, very much running. Loads of interesting ideas around how he wants to develop the partnership as well. So we have a great team, a fantastic board of directors as well, really committed to the work of the partnership. But I'll really miss as well working with that wide network of partners right across the Tees Valley. I've worked very closely with a lot of the local authority leads over many years now, and that individual contact with clubs and other organisations. You know, I'm certainly going to miss that, I think.
Yeah. So what are your plans then? You know, Monday what will it be? Well, Monday the first of May, is it going to be? Monday
Yeah, I think that might
May.
that might be
What are you going to be doing then?
There might be a bank holiday so that
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
count. Yeah, I've got loads of interests, as you know. I bought, again, everybody's senseless. Everybody that knows me knows that I got an allotment about 3 months ago, and now a paid up member of the Gardeners World Club. So I'm looking forward to doing quite a bit more there. Got my cycling, walking, got grandchildren now to influence to make sure that they support Cardiff City and Glamorgan.
I'm sure you'll try your hardest to get that Cardiff influence onto them, Martin.
Yeah. My grandson Caelan, the first gift he got was a full Cardiff City kit.
I have to admit, one of Grace's first presents she got for Christmas was a Grace 1 Newcastle United strip. That was off the grandparents. So I think it's a grandparents' tradition to try and, be that influence to help them in the right direction to the sport and enable them to support.
Yeah. So I mean, fortunately, obviously, my son, his dad, a big Cardiff City fan, so he's going to get it from both sides. I'll be amazed if he supports anybody other than Cardiff City.
No, brilliant. Well, I just want to say thank you for your time, Martin. And from my side, I've been here just over a year, and for me, I just want to thank you for the support you've given me. And I'm sure, on behalf of the rest of the team, thank you for all you've done for us. All you've done 15 years. You've influenced so many people across the Tees Valley. You've helped so many sports clubs, organisations. So, I wish I could get everyone on here to say thank you, but unfortunately I can't. But just thank you so much for your time and for all your support and your efforts that you put in across the 15 years you've been here.
Oh, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Really enjoyed working with everybody at Tees Valley Sport, and as I say, the wider partnership. And like to wish everybody every success in the future. And I'm sure that things are going to improve over the next few months and years, and it's going to be a really exciting time to work within the sport and physical activity sector.
Oh, brilliant. No, Martin, massively appreciate your time for taking a bit of time out to this. I'm sure you've got plenty to crack on with for your last few days of your working life. So just once again, just thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, cheers, Mark. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. I hope you all enjoyed that. It was great chatting to Martin and listening to him talk about some of his memories of working at Tees Valley Sport. It was fantastic to hear about him talking about the change that he's seen over his time here, hearing a bit about his retirement plans, and just it was just nice to catch up with him and just have a bit of a chat with him really about what his time's been like here, and just to hear about his future plans really. So I hope you all enjoyed it, and please leave some comments, and any memories of Martin, drop them in the comments on the Facebook page, drop them in the comments on our YouTube channel. I'm sure he'll love to hear if any stories, anything he's got to mention about his time here. So I hope you enjoyed the episode, and thanks for listening.